Hello students, today we are going to start the next chapter, that is the last chapter of your first year syllabus, that is chemical coordination and integration. So we will start the chemical coordination and integration chapter. So in this chapter what we have, the different glands, their functions, the disorders related to the different hyposecretion and hyposecretion of different hormones, and then the mechanism of hormone action. So in this chapter, first we have the last part of the physiology. We have the neural control and then we have the chemical control. So what's the reason why we have the chemical coordination? Already we have the neural system, isn't that? So what's the difference between the neural system and the chemical system? That in the chemical coordination, the hormones are released and it's working on every cells. Okay, it's stimulating or inhibiting the cells. So it works on the cellular level. But if it comes to the neural system, they're going to work locally in a particular organ, not the whole body. If the whole body or all of the cells need to be stimulated, then the neural system cannot work. Second important function, that if it comes to the chemical coordination, the chemicals released from the different glands, they're going to act, and its function is widespread. For a long period of time, if suppose some organs or some cells, tissues need to be stimulated or suppose needed to be inhibited, then only the hormones will work. If it comes to the nervous system, they're going to stimulate stimulate the organs locally for a small period of time. So if comes to the stimulation will be short-lived in the nervous system, and in the chemical system, the chemical coordination, the stimulation will be long-term, right? So that's why we require a separate system for coordinating different organs of our body, or to run the physiological system smooth. We have the chemical coordination. So in this chemical coordination, what we need to see, that we are going to have different organs that secrete some chemicals, and those chemicals will be called here, that they are called as the hormones. Okay, so these hormones, they are nothing but some chemicals, but those chemicals are the non-nutrient chemicals. That means it's not going to give nutrition to some organs. It is released in a very trace amount. Trace amount means it's released in a very least amount. Okay, in milliliter itself, it's going to work or stimulate, or we can suffer from hyper or hyposecretion. We can suffer from different diseases. So very little amount of hormones, there are some chemicals that are released, and it's work on the intercellular level. Okay, it's working on the cellular level. So what is it? The hormones are some chemicals, non-nutrient chemicals released by different glands. Now we can see different glands are there, right? So we need to know what are the glands which are secreting the hormones, right? So the glands which are secreting the hormones are called as the endocrine glands. So what are the endocrine glands? See, we have the endocrine glands. They are also called as the ductless gland. Okay, remember what is the ductless glands? These are the endocrine glands. Already in the digestive system, we have seen the differences between the exocrine and endocrine glands. If it comes to the endocrine glands, they are called as the ductless glands. So first of all, suppose this is a gland. So this is suppose a gland. So here the blood vessel will enter. So this blood vessel will carry the nutrients and gases to the specific, suppose it is the endocrine gland. So what will happen? The gases and the nutrients that will be going diffused into the endocrine gland. Now after that, the endocrine glands which have some cells, those cells will secrete some secretion, those chemicals that are called as the hormones. They will secrete the secretion into the blood. So they secrete the secretion into the blood or in the extracellular fluid. Okay, if blood is present, that's well good. If the blood is not there, for small period of suppose location, then ECF, extracellular fluid, will carry that hormone. Then after that, the blood, which is giving the nutrients and gases, and eventually after giving it, it will take back the carbon dioxide and waste product produced by the cells. Then it will take the carbon dioxide and the waste product, and it will go away from the gland. So what is this? This will be the vein. But along with this carbon dioxide and waste product, these veins will also carry the hormones. Okay, right? Remember, the hormones will be carried by the veins, and after that it will go to the different target organs. See, suppose these are different types of hormone. Every type of endocrine glands are going to secrete its hormone, right? But what happens? Is it working on each and every gland or each and every organ of our body? No. So just see, suppose here we have some glands. So you know that their functions, the hormones functions are very much specific. Okay, that means they're going to act on just a specific part of the body. Suppose a part of the gland. Okay. So depending on the receptors present on the gland, they're going to act. So the blood vessel, which is going to have all of the hormones, okay, but just a target organ which is meant for that hormone, only that organ will work or be stimulated or inhibited, not the other organs. Why? Depending on the receptors present on the organ. Suppose here this is an organ, so this organ will have this kind of receptor. Suppose this organ have this type of receptor. Suppose this organ have this type of receptors. So what will happen? The blood which is carrying all the hormones, but what will happen? The target organ, suppose these are the target organs, so only suppose this target organ will receive the blood which is having that type of hormone, and that hormone will bind to the receptors. Then after that, the target organ will start to show its function. Similarly, suppose this target organ have this kind of receptor, so only that that typical hormone will be attached to the receptors. So in that period of time, hormone receptor complex will be formed and the target organ starts to work. For this organ also same thing is happening. So just see, though blood is carrying all the kinds of hormone, the target organ which is going to have a specific receptor, that receptor will be bonded with that hormone. Then after that it start to work. Okay, though through this gland is receiving this hormone also, this other hormone which is not going to bind with the receptor, so that's why this target organ will not show its function, isn't that? So every target organ will have some receptors on its specific cell membrane, and if it is not, they can pass through this. So we'll come to that. So this is about the concept of the hormones. Let's just see that in our body how many types of endocrine glands we have. It's the endocrine glands which is producing the hormones. It's not like that. Apart from this endocrine glands, also we have some other glands also, like heart, liver, kidney, gastrointestinal tract. They are also releasing some hormones. You just remember that the first hormone that I discovered, that was secretin. So secretin is the first hormone to be discovered. Okay, what is the smallest endocrine gland of our body? That is the that will be the pituitary gland. And what is the largest? It is the thyroid gland. So let's just move to the each and every glands, endocrine glands, and their functions. So first of all, in this chapter, we need to remember each and every gland. Okay, so I will draw the first structure. So this is the brain. So here on this region, we have two glands. What are they? One is the hypothalamus, and then just behind the hypothalamus, this part already we have drawn. We have discussed what is this. Just behind the hypothalamus, we have the pituitary gland. Next one, here on this region we have another gland also. This is called as the pineal gland, right? Now on this thorax region, okay, we are going to have another gland that is called as the thyroid, and along with the thyroid we are also going to have another gland that is called as the parathyroid gland. Just to go a little descent down, then on this region where we have the heart, Okay, so in this region of dorsal wall, what we are going to have the next gland. What is the name of this next gland? That is the thymus. Okay, now after that, here we have the pancreas. In this pancreas also we have the endocrine gland, endocrine part of the pancreas. What is that? Islets of Langerhans, what we are going to call it. This is the pancreas, which is also endocrine in nature. Then after that, above the kidney, what we are going to have the adrenal gland. So this adrenal gland is a very important gland, endocrine glands. And after that we have the gonads. In case of male, it is the testis. In case of the female, it is the ovaries. So here the testis and ovaries are also the endocrine glands. Okay, just remember, we are going to have how many endocrine glands here? 9 endocrine glands we have. So what are they? First of all, pineal gland. Then after that we have the hypothalamus, then pituitary gland, then we have the thyroid, parathyroid, pineal, then thymus, pancreas, adrenal. Then after that we have the gonads, testis and ovaries. So these are the different endocrine glands we have. One by one, this diagram is already given in your NCERT. So let us start from the pituitary gland. But yes, before the pituitary gland we need to know about hypothalamus. So we will together study hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, because both of them, they are going to have the similar type of function. Okay, their similar function is both of them, they are associated with each other. So first of all, the location of the hypothalamus. What is the location of the hypothalamus now? Just see, if it comes to the hypothalamus, it is the diencephalon. You just remember, if you can, then here we are going to have two large thalamic nuclei. So this is the thalamus. Then after that, above we have epithalamus, then thalamus, then after that we have the hypothalamus. So this is the hypothalamus. Okay, right? Then after that, what is it? Here in this part will go elongated, and after that we are going to have the gland that is called as the pituitary gland. Okay, so just see, earlier pituitary gland was known as the master gland. Master gland means it's going to control almost every other endocrine gland to be stimulated or inhibited. Now this hypothalamus is even stimulating the pituitary gland. So that's why the hypothalamus is called as the super master. That means above the master also there is another master present. Okay, so hypothalamus, which is going to control the activity of the pituitary gland, whether it should stimulate its hormone or inhibit its hormone. Okay, let's just start. First of all, hypothalamus. What is the location? The location of the hypothalamus is just behind the thalamus. Okay, just behind the thalamus in diencephalon. Okay, so in the diencephalon, just behind the thalamus cephalon, the hypothalamus is located. So this hypothalamus, which is going to secrete two types of hormones. Just remember, it's going to secrete two types of hormone. One is called as the releasing hormone. So it's called as the releasing hormone. And the next one, it's called as the inhibiting hormone. Okay. So I will tell you what is that two categories now. So it's called as RH, and inhibiting hormone, that is called as IH. Second one, it's another two hormones are released by it. One is called as the ADH and second one is called as the oxytocin hormones. So in this hypothalamus, we are going to have two types of neurosecretory cells. So here, suppose these are some neurons. So these neurons are present here. Okay, and some neurons are also present which have the axon terminals will go to this part. Okay, so what are they actually? These hormones, they are going to secrete this releasing hormone and inhibiting hormone, which is going to control, or they are going to stimulate or inhibit the anterior part of the pituitary gland. And this part, which is actually nothing but the neurons, which will go descend down the hypothalamus, and it will reach the axon terminal, will reach the posterior part of the pituitary gland. So these are the hormone releasing neurons. Okay, so these are also hormone releasing neurons, but these neurons will releasing hormone or inhibiting hormone via a system that are called as the duct. Okay, so here we have one system that is called as the hypothalamo hypophysal portal system. So here it's actually a portal duct we have, which is going to take the hypothalamic RH and IH to the anterior pituitary so that the anterior pituitary can be stimulated or inhibited. Okay. Now if you see, first of all, now I will tell you what is portal system. Portal system means, see what is it. Suppose here we have the heart. Okay, these are the chambers of heart. So this heart will release the, that means pump the blood. So via artery it will go to a organ, right? So it will go to a organ. In the organ we are going to have capillaries. Then after that, from the organ the veins will take the carbon dioxide and it will reach the heart once again, carrying the deoxygenated blood. So this will be called as the vein. Okay, so this is happening in almost everywhere. So every organ that has the or that get the blood, that blood vessel will have the connection with the heart. Okay. Now, what is it that sometime we are also going to have some blood vessel which is not directly going to the heart, or they are not coming directly from the heart. Okay, it is going to be arising from an organ and it will reach another organ. Okay, so here suppose this is another organ we have. Okay, so this is an organ, and from this organ the blood which is carrying something, it may be hormone, it can be another thing, it can be another type of components, it will arise, or it is taking the components from one organ and it is received by another organ by a type of blood vessel that is called as the portal duct. So this will be called as the portal duct. Okay, or we can call portal vessel. Okay, so here it's actually a blood vessel, so here this is a portal vessel. So we have the hypophysal portal system here, so which is carrying the hormones RH and IH from the hypothalamus and is going to reach to the blood vessel. Then after that, the blood vessel, that is the portal blood vessel, which is taking the RH and IH to the anterior pituitary. Now one of a hormone I will tell you that pituitary gland release a hormone that is called as FSH. Okay, or suppose TSH, or suppose ACTH. Okay, so now what is happening, or suppose ZH. Okay, so now what will happen, that the pituitary gland releases the ZH hormone, but to stimulate the cells which is releasing the growth hormone, the hypothalamus need to stimulate it. So hypothalamus will release ZHRH to go to the portal vessel, and then after that it will stimulate the pituitary gland. Then the pituitary gland will release ZH. Now suppose ZH hormone need to be stopped releasing, then after that the hypothalamus via this portal vessel will release ZHIH. Okay, so similar way, suppose if it is ACTH, RH, ACTH, IH, so this way these hormones, anterior pituitary, they release 7 hormones. For all the 7 hormones, the hypothalamus will release either IH or RH, both of them. Okay, so it's going to be the pituitary gland, that means anterior pituitary gland. That anterior pituitary gland will be stimulated by the hypothalamus via this RH and IH. Next one, the 2 hormones. You can see that the pituitary gland has the posterior part, this part. This part is actually nothing but the extension of the hypothalamus itself. So hypothalamus is going to secrete another hormone, ADH. ADH is also known as vasopressin. So this vasopressin is going to be released from the hypothalamus. Okay, so remember one thing. This vasopressin and oxytocin, they're secreted by hypothalamus. Okay, but this part of the pituitary gland will just store the hormones. So this pars nervosa or the posterior pituitary gland will release this ADH and oxytocin, but they do not secrete it. Who is going to secrete it? This is hypothalamus itself. So you can understand the function of hypothalamus. It's called as a supermaster. Why it's called as a supermaster? Because this hypothalamus is going to control, it will take the whole control of the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, which is divided into two parts, anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. The hypothalamus will control the anterior pituitary by releasing RH and IH, and posterior pituitary, which is not going to secrete anything, it will just release the hormone which is secreted by hypothalamus. So hypothalamus release two hormones, actually secrete two hormone or produce two hormones, that is oxytocin and vasopressin, or ADH and oxytocin, which is going to pour into the same neuron, and via the neuron it will reach the posterior pituitary, and posterior pituitary will release its hormone. Okay, so this is the posterior pituitary gland, which is going to secrete, it's going to release only the ADH and oxytocin, not secrete. So it's going to secrete this hormone. This is the hypothalamus. Just remember this. So this is about the hypothalamus. We'll reach the next one, that is the pituitary gland. So just see what is it. This is called as the pituitary gland. So what is the pituitary gland? It is the smallest gland of our body, which is pea shaped or pea sized, and it is the smallest gland which is present behind the hypothalamus in the sphenoid bone. So you can see already in the locomotion and movement, I have told you that in the sphenoid bone we have one depression, and that depression is called the sella turcica. So in the sphenoid bone we have a depression. In the bone there is a depression present, that is called as the sella turcica. So in the sella turcica this pituitary gland is situated, right? Now this pituitary gland, which have two parts. So see, this pituitary gland have two parts. One is called as the anterior pituitary and another is called as the posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary is called as the adenohypophysis. The pituitary gland is also called as hypophysis, right? So adenohypophysis is the anterior part, which is maximally 75% of the pituitary gland is the adenohypophysis itself. Remaining 25% of the pituitary gland is the posterior pituitary, or we can call it neurohypophysis. Okay, so neurohypophysis is nothing but the posterior pituitary part. Now just see what is it. This anterior pituitary, which is also going to be divided into two parts. Okay, once again adenohypophysis is divided into two parts. What are they? See, this part exactly in between the adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, what we are going to have, see, maximum part, this part is the pars distalis, and this part which is present in between the adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, what we can call it, this will be the pars intermedia. Okay, and neurohypophysis, this is also called as pars nervosa. Okay, just remember that. Now just see what is it, that the pars distalis, it release maximal hormones. What are they? The pars distalis release growth hormone, then it release the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. It releases the ACTH, adrenocorticotrophic hormone. It releases the hormone prolactin. Okay, next one, it releases the hormone FSH, then LH. So these are the hormones secreted by the pars distalis. Okay, next one, pars intermedia. So this pars intermedia release one hormone only, that is MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone. Now I will tell you the function of each hormone, so you will get in detail in whenever you will study the book, you will get all these hormones. So first of all, GH, growth hormone. What is the function of growth hormone? It will allow growth, right? So in the infant stage, we are born and our body continuously grow until the epiphyseal plates joins in the bones. So if you see these bones, then this is the bone. In the bone, we are going to have the plates. This way we have the two plates. Whenever we are growing, then the epiphyseal plates will go closure, and at one period of time, like we are at the age of 25 or 26, the epiphyseal plates will join, right? And after that, further growth will be not possible. So that's why our growth will be restricted. We can grow up to until it's 25, around 20s. Then after that, it will not grow because epiphyseal plates get attached. Okay. Now, this growth hormone will stimulate the growth of the bone. But is it only the bones will grow? No, along with the bones, the muscles will grow. Then the skin, that skin will also grow, isn't that? So bone, muscle, skin, everything will grow up to a certain period of time, right? So this is the function of growth hormone. Next one is TSH. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. So this thyroid stimulating hormone will stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete the hormones. If the thyroid stimulating hormone will be not released, the thyroid gland cannot release its hormone. Okay. Next one, ACTH. ACTH stands for adrenocorticotrophic hormone. Adrenocorticotrophic hormone will stimulate the adrenal gland, but not the whole adrenal gland. Adrenal gland have two parts. One is the cortex part and then the medulla part. Only the cortex part will be stimulated by adrenocorticotrophic hormone. The next one is prolactin. Prolactin hormone is the hormone which is producing milk in the mammary gland in case of females, right? So in human, this prolactin hormone will be called as the milk producing hormone. Next one, that is FSH. FSH and LH, they are called as the follicular stimulating hormone and that is luteinizing hormone. Both these two hormones are called as the gonadotropins. Gonadotropins means they are going to act on the gonads to produce mature the gonadal hormones, right? Or to function or to process the oogenesis and spermatogenesis. So if it comes to the male, then it will be the FSH and LH go to the testis and stimulate the testis to produce spermatozoa. And if it is this female, then FSH and LH will stimulate the ovum to be produced and mature. So this FSH and LH will be discussed in detail in second year. You will get it. And then we will see the pars intermedia. So pars intermedia release only one hormone, which is a part of the adenohypophysis. It's release a hormone called MSH. MSH stands for melanocyte stimulating hormone. It will cause darkening of the skin. Melanocyte, you know what is melanin? Melanin is a pigment which causes the darkening of our skin, which is the skin pigment. Now, this pigment will be released by a cell that is called as melanocyte. So that melanocyte will be present in our skin, that will be stimulated by the melanocyte stimulating hormone, but it do not have any function in mammal. In higher vertebrates like mammals, we don't have such function because our skin color is genetic and environmental conditions, like due to the exposure to the sun, our skin will be darker or it will be lighter, and also it can be genetic also. But MSH do not have any function in human, in mammals. But yes, it is going to have function in the lower grade of vertebrates, right? Other functions, like different type of other functions like breeding and breeding season, that will be controlled by the MSH in case of the lower grade of organism. Okay, we don't have such function, but in the reproductive health, the MSH is believed to have some function. Okay, so these are the functions of the adenohypophysis. Then the neurohypophysis, which is releasing two hormone. What are they? One is ADH, another is oxytocin hormone. Okay, so what is ADH? ADH stands for antidiuretic hormone. Already I have told you in the excretory product and their elimination chapter, where ADH will work or act on the DCT and collecting duct, which help in reabsorption of maximum water, and that can produce the hypertonic urine. Okay, so that is the function of ADH. Okay, that can help us to produce the hypertonic urine. Second one is oxytocin. What is the function of oxytocin? Oxytocin is the feel good or love hormone. It's also cause the parturition, childbirth, as well as it also cause the milk ejecting hormone. Okay, so milk ejection will be stimulated by the sucking of the mammary gland by the infants, and mother produce the or mother secrete the milk from the mammary gland due to the release of oxytocin. So oxytocin is a milk ejection hormone or milk ejecting hormone, but this prolactin is called as a milk producing hormone. So just remember that. So this is about the pituitary gland. In the pituitary gland we have to remember about one of a disorder. So let's just come to the disorder. So we'll discuss a disorder of only one hormone, that is the growth hormone. So we will see what is that. So in the childhood and in the adulthood, we are suffering different kinds of diseases of the growth hormone. So if the growth hormone is releasing in less amount, okay, hypo secretion in the childhood, we will suffer from a disease called dwarfism. That means our growth will be not occur. Okay, but if it is secreting in less amount in the adulthood, will that individual suffer from dwarfism? Of course not, because already the height is attained, right? So in that condition, that adulthood, in the adulthood there will be no such function. Okay, they will not cause any type of problem because already the growth is attained in the childhood itself. So in adulthood, if this individual secrete or they cannot secrete that much amount of growth hormone, it is not going to act anything. Then after that we'll see the higher secretion. So if the growth hormone is secreting in very high amount, then what will happen in childhood and in adulthood? Okay, so in the childhood we'll suffer from a disease. The disease is called as gigantism. Okay, gigantism is that individual will increase the excessive growth of the bone, muscle and the skin. So that's why that individual will attain more height. What will happen to the that is in the adulthood, that individual, if he gets, because already he has attained a growth and epiphyseal plates in the bones, they're already get attached, so that's why the longitudinal growth of the bones cannot be possible. So suppose in the adulthood already we have attained that adulthood and the epiphyseal plates got attached, then after that bone growth will be not possible. But extensively, if ZH is releasing and in the adulthood the bones are stimulated over and over, that to release that to grow the bones, then the bone longitudinal growth will be not possible. What will happen, that individual will have lateral growth of the bones. So that individual will be chimpanzee like. In this region the parts will grow, okay, from the hands the parts will grow. So this condition will be called as acromegaly. Okay, so this condition will be called as the acromegalia. Okay, so what we are going to have, growth hormone, the disorders, just remember what is their function. So this is about the pituitary gland. After that, let's just move to the next gland. What is this gland? In the brain itself, we have another gland called pineal gland. So what is the location of the pineal gland? So pineal gland is located in the same diencephalon. Okay, in the diencephalon we have the epithalamus, right? So in the epithalamus of diencephalon we are going to have the pineal gland. Okay, so this is the first thing about the pineal gland. It's very simple. It's going to have only one secretion. That means it's going to secrete only one hormone. What is the name of this hormone? That is called as okay, so just see, it is going to have one secretion, that is melatonin. So just see if it comes to, so what is the function of this melatonin? Melatonin have an important function to maintain the sleep and awake cycle. So sleep and awake cycle is maintained by the melatonin. It's also going to control the number of functions we perform in a regular basis, in a routine wise. Suppose we sleep and awake in a routine, then in case of girls it is the menstrual cycle, reproductive cycle, that will be also maintained by melatonin. Okay, So the secretion of the gastric juice from the digestive tract at the time of when we are hungry, or suppose at every day we have the habit of taking the food in 10 p.m. suppose, then in 10 p.m. the gastric secretion will start to cause. So that will be controlled also by melatonin. Okay, so in case of human, it's going to be called as it's the biological clock. So in this biological clock, this hormone, that is melatonin, is going to called, it's going to also control the sleep and awake cycle or our circadian rhythm. So this is the pineal gland. Then after that, next gland we will see, that is the thymus gland. So up to only thymus I will complete the video today. In the next video we'll start the thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal, then the pancreas and the gonads, and we'll complete the video. So in this we'll see the thymus gland. So what is the location? On the wall of the heart. Okay, on the wall of the heart, it's going to be the thymus gland located. So the thymus gland is going to secrete one hormone that is called as the thymosin. So thymosin hormone is secreted from the thymus gland, which is going to mature the T lymphocyte. Okay, it's going to mature the T lymphocyte. Now what is the T lymphocyte then? So already I have told you, this is suppose the bone marrow. In the bone marrow we are going to have production of two type of cells. Suppose these are the lymphocyte. If the lymphocytes are formed as well as it is matured, then it will be called as the B lymphocyte. But one kind of lymphocyte which are formed in the bone marrow, but it goes to the thymus gland so that it can be matured to different type of cells. They are called as the T lymphocyte. So we are going to have different type of T lymphocyte like cytotoxic killer cell, then T helper cell, T suppressor cell, and T memory cell. Okay, so it's also called as the lymphocyte school. That means in the thymus, this T lymphocyte will be matured and start to get developed to function different functions. Okay, it's having immunological function. It help in maturation of the T lymphocytes. One thing we need to remember, that whenever we are born, from the time of birth up to puberty, the thymus gland will grow. But from puberty, okay, from puberty, the thymus gland will start to degenerate. Okay, start to degenerate, and at the age of 60-70 years, that thymus gland will be completely erased from our body. So that's why it's said that we have the maximum immunity in our childhood, but as we are growing older, the thymus gland, as it's not able to perform too much function, or it cannot secrete that much of thymosin hormone, we are start to decrease the CMIS or cell mediated immune system. So if you don't understand what is AMIS and CMIS, you just go to the Human Health and Disease chapter, you will understand the immunology part. So this CMIS will start to decline or deactivate or start to decrease its function after the puberty, and at that period of time we don't have that much of problem, because already in that period of time number of B lymphocytes are formed, matured, and different type of antibodies are there already, memory cells have been formed. So that's why we don't have that much of problem. So this is the only gland, remember, this is the only gland which starts to degenerate after puberty. Okay, so this is the thymus gland which is secreting the thymosin hormone, which is going to help in maturation of the T lymphocyte into cytotoxic killer cell, memory cell, helper cell, and suppressor cells. So these are all about the type of hormones secreted by the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, pineal gland, and thymus gland. So up to this we have discussed. So that's all about the video first part of the video. In the next part we'll complete the chapter. That's all about it. Thank you.